Every single day, millions of people wake up, put on a mask, and step onto an invisible stage. They edit their words, suppress their authentic desires, curating their lives, not for their own fulfillment, but to avoid the imaginary judgment of people who aren't even watching. We spend money we don't have, to buy things we don't need, to impress people we don't even like. We choose safe career paths to appease our parents, withhold our true opinions to keep the peace in superficial friendships, and stay trapped in suffocating routines because we are terrified of being perceived as a failure, a weirdo, or a disappointment. This is the silent tragedy of modern human existence, living as a prisoner to the opinions of others. You are effectively letting strangers, colleagues, and distant relatives hold the remote control to your nervous system, dictating your mood, your choices, and your self-worth. The brutal truth is that your obsession with external approval is a slow, chronic form of self-sabotage. It burns through your daily cognitive fuel, drains your vitality, and leaves you hollow. But here is the ultimate secret that will set you free. Nobody is actually thinking about you. Everyone is far too consumed by their own anxieties, insecurities, and internal chaos to give your life more than a passing thought. In this audiobook, we are going to systematically dismantle the psychological chains of social validation, destroy the spotlight effect, and rebuild your life around an unshakable core of sovereign self-worth. It is time to drop the performative mask, step off the stage of public approval, and finally start living for yourself. Chapter 1. The fundamental root of human suffering in the modern age lies in our addiction to external validation and our paralyzing fear of social rejection. To break free from this cognitive prison, you must first understand the deep biological and evolutionary architecture that hardwired your brain to care so intensely about what other people think. Your brain is not an organ designed to make you happy, fulfilled, or sovereign. It is an organ engineered strictly for physical survival. For over 99% of human evolutionary history, our ancestors lived in small, tight-knit tribal groups, ranging from 30 to 150 individuals. In that ancestral environment, physical isolation was a direct death sentence. If you were cast out by the tribe, you could not hunt megafauna alone, protect yourself against rival clans, or survive severe weather conditions. Social rejection meant literal, physical destruction. Because the stakes of social standing were a matter of life and death, the human brain evolved hypersensitive neural hardware explicitly dedicated to monitoring social approval, detecting subtle shifts in group dynamics, and enforcing behavioral conformity. Your amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex, the regions of the brain responsible for threat detection and emotional pain processing, were calibrated to view social disapproval as a primary threat to your life. When a member of your ancestral tribe looked at you with disgust, anger, or contempt, your brain instantly flooded your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline, triggering an intense, uncomfortable state of anxiety. That spike of anxiety was an evolutionary mechanism designed to force you to quickly correct your behavior, apologize, conform, and regain the approval of the group to ensure your physical survival. The core tragedy of modern human life is that your primitive biological hardware is operating in a world that looks completely different from the ancestral environment in which it was forged. You no longer live in a small tribe of 50 people where a single dispute can lead to your exposure to the elements and starvation. You live in a hyper-connected, globalized society of over 8 billion people, surrounded by dense urban centers, digital networks, and endless social interactions. Yet, when a stranger gives you a cold look on the subway, when a colleague leaves a critical comment on a document, or when an acquaintance disagrees with your lifestyle choices, your ancient evolutionary brain fires the exact same primitive alarm signals as if you were about to be exiled into a frozen wilderness alone. You experience a sudden tightening in your chest, a drop in your stomach, a surge of heat in your face, and an overwhelming urge to apologize, explain yourself, or shrink your authentic presence to restore the peace. You are experiencing a false biological alarm. Your body is reacting to a superficial, low-stakes social micro-event with the biological intensity of a life or death crisis. To reclaim your freedom, you must consciously train your mind to recognize these physiological spikes for what they truly are: outdated, evolutionary false alarms generated by a primitive survival mechanism that no longer serves your modern reality. Beyond our evolutionary biology, our obsession with external approval is systematically reinforced through childhood conditioning and social indoctrination. From the moment you enter the educational system, you are taught that your worth, intelligence, and safety are tied directly to external evaluation. You are graded on a curve, rewarded with gold stars for compliance, and punished for standing out or questioning authority. You learn very quickly that being good means sitting still, raising your hand, following instructions, and satisfying the expectations of teachers, parents, and authority figures. Your natural curiosity, raw authenticity, and unique perspective are continuously shaved down to fit the standardized mold of societal acceptability. As you move through adolescence and young adulthood, this conditioning shifts from authority figures to your peer group and broader cultural structures. You internalize the destructive myth of conditional worth, the subconscious belief that you are not inherently valuable as a human being, but that your worth is a fragile, temporary state that must be continuously earned through performance, achievements, attractiveness, wealth, and the applause of others. You learn to view yourself not from the inside out, through the lens of your own values and authentic desires, but from the outside in, through the eyes of an imaginary, hypercritical audience. When you live from the outside in, you surrender your personal sovereignty and hand over the key to your emotional well-being to total strangers. You become a psychological chameleon, constantly altering your personality, voice tone, political opinions, career choices, and personal style, depending on who happens to be standing in front of you. In the company of conservative colleagues, you tone down your radical ideas. Around ambitious friends, you pretend to care about material status symbols you privately find absurd. Around family members, you revert to a submissive, quiet version of yourself to avoid disappointing them. You spend an extraordinary amount of daily energy managing multiple artificial personas, desperately trying to keep everyone around you comfortable, validated, and pleased. This chronic persona management comes at a devastating cost to your mental and physical health. Psychologists use the term cognitive dissonance to describe the intense internal friction that occurs when your outward behavior stands in direct contradiction to your deep internal reality. Operating in a continuous state of cognitive dissonance is like driving a car with the parking brake fully engaged. You burn through immense amounts of metabolic fuel, your prefrontal cortex becomes chronically fatigued, and your nervous system remains stuck in sympathetic fight-or-flight dominance. You suffer from chronic, unexplained physical exhaustion, brain fog, anxiety, and a deep, pervasive sense of emptiness, simply because you are spending your life force maintaining a lie to satisfy an audience that doesn't even care. To break free from this prison, you must undergo a total philosophical revolution regarding your understanding of approval. You must accept a fundamental, unassailable truth: external approval is an illusion, a moving target, and a zero-yield currency. It is mathematically impossible to live in a way that pleases everyone. Human opinions are wildly inconsistent, irrational, emotional, and heavily biased by individual conditioning, projection, and personal mood swings. What one person loves about you, another person will despise. What one culture praises as a virtue, another will condemn as a vice. What your family considers a noble career choice, your peers might view as a boring failure. When you attempt to adjust your life to win the approval of the crowd, you are building your foundation on shifting sand. You can spend 20 years working a high-stress job you hate to satisfy your parents' demand for respectability, only for them to criticize you for not spending enough time with your family. You can shrink your personality to keep a romantic partner happy, only for them to lose interest in you because you have lost your authentic edge. Trying to satisfy the external world is a game where the rules are constantly changing, the goalposts are continuously moving, and the prize for winning is the total destruction of your soul. Sovereign living begins the moment you realize that the approval of others adds zero real substance to your life, and their disapproval possesses zero power to harm your core essence, unless you grant it permission. A stranger's negative opinion of you does not alter your physical blood chemistry, lower your bank account, destroy your skills, or alter your fundamental value as a human being. It is merely a temporary vibration of air molecules forming words, or a sequence of pixels on a digital screen, reflecting the internal chaos and conditioning of the person speaking. When you stop granting external opinions the power to dictate your self-worth, you step off the hamster wheel of social validation and take your first true breath of freedom. Chapter 2. The second step in emancipating yourself from the tyranny of external opinions is the total destruction of one of the most pervasive cognitive illusions in human psychology, the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is a universal psychological phenomenon in which individuals radically overestimate the extent to which other people are observing, judging, analyzing, and remembering their appearance, behavior, flaws, and personal choices. Because each of us is trapped inside our own subjective consciousness 24 hours a day, viewing the universe through our own eyes, and experiencing our own thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations, we naturally operate under the implicit assumption that we are the central protagonist in a global drama. We feel as though we are walking through life illuminated by a harsh, unflattering spotlight, with the rest of the world sitting in the audience, meticulously taking notes on our every move. When you drop a fork in a quiet restaurant, stumble over a word during a presentation, wear an outfit that feels slightly out of place, or make a mistake at work, the spotlight effect causes your brain to amplify the event 1,000 times over. You imagine that everyone in the room is whispering about your clumsiness, dissecting your incompetence, and judging your character. You replay the minor blunder in your mind for hours, days, or even weeks, cringing at the memory and nursing a deep sense of social shame. You convince yourself that your reputation has been permanently tarnished and that people will forever view you through the lens of that single, awkward moment. In objective reality, there is no spotlight. The audience you fear does not exist. The fundamental truth of human social dynamics, backed by decades of psychological research, is that almost nobody is thinking about you. Everyone around you is completely, totally, and unalterably obsessed with themselves. They are trapped inside their own mental spotlight, consumed by their own financial anxieties, health worries, career ambitions, relationship dramas, and deep-seated physical insecurities. When you drop a fork in a restaurant, the people around you might turn their heads for half a second, not because they care about you, but because their brain's primitive threat detection system registered a sudden noise. Within 3 seconds, they have completely forgotten your existence and returned to worrying about their own lives, their own appearance, and their own problems. Consider your own daily mental habits. How much time do you spend sitting in your living room deeply analyzing, judging, or remembering the minor flaws, awkward statements, or wardrobe choices of strangers, acquaintances, or co-workers you saw 3 days ago? The answer is practically zero. You are far too busy thinking about your own life, your own schedule, your own insecurities, and what other people think of you. If you do not spend your precious time obsessing over the lives of others, why on earth do you assume that others are spending their finite mental bandwidth obsessing over yours? They are not. You are a background extra in their movie, just as they are background extras in yours. Understanding the reality of human self-absorption is not depressing. It is the most profoundly liberating realization you will ever experience. It grants you instant, total permission to be yourself. The horrifying weight of social expectation vanishes the moment you realize that people's judgments are fleeting, superficial, and entirely meaningless. They will look at your social post, your new business venture, your untraditional outfit, or your non-mainstream lifestyle choice for 2 seconds, form a passing low-energy opinion, and immediately scroll past to focus on their own world. You are sacrificing your genuine happiness, your deep passions, and your limited time on earth to protect an image in the minds of people who aren't even paying attention. Furthermore, you must realize that even when people do actively judge you, their judgment has virtually nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. When someone criticizes your life choices, mocks your ambitions, or expresses disapproval toward your lifestyle, they are not delivering an objective evaluation of your character. They are projecting their own internal conditioning, unhealed trauma, envy, and personal limitations onto you. Psychological projection is a subconscious defense mechanism where individuals take their own disowned feelings, unmet desires, and deep insecurities and attribute them to others. When a person who gave up on their own creative dreams sees you taking a bold risk to launch a business, write a book, or pursue a non-traditional career, your courage acts as an uncomfortable mirror. Your willingness to step out of line highlights their own cowardice and self-betrayal. Because facing their own regret and inadequacy is deeply painful, their ego automatically generates a defense mechanism. They dismiss your idea, call you unrealistic, predict your failure, or mock your effort. They are not judging you. They are fighting a war against their own internal guilt. They are attempting to pull you back down into the bucket of conformity so that they don't have to feel the burn of their own missed potential. Once you recognize that external criticism is simply a psychological projection of the critic's internal world, it completely loses its power to hurt you. You stop taking people's opinions personally. When someone attacks your choices, you no longer feel the urge to defend yourself, get angry, or change your course. Instead, you look at them through a lens of objective, calm compassion. You realize this person is reacting to their own limitations, their own fears, and their own conditioning. Their words are a window into their mind, not a mirror of my worth. You let their comments pass through your reality like a harmless breeze, maintaining your direction with cold, unshakable clarity. To fully step out of the spotlight and reclaim your freedom, you must actively dismantle the mental habit of mind reading. Mind reading is a cognitive distortion where you assume you know the negative thoughts, motives, and judgments of others without any concrete evidence. You walk into a room, see two colleagues whispering, and instantly assume they are talking about your recent mistake. You send a text message, receive a brief reply, and immediately convince yourself that the recipient is angry with you. You present an idea, see someone frown, and instantly assume they think you are stupid. Mind reading is a pure fabrication of your own anxious imagination. You are taking your own internal self-doubt, dressing it up in the voices of other people, and then terrorizing yourself with it. You are literally inventing fictional scenarios in your head and then experiencing real physical suffering in response to your own mental creations. To break this habit, you must demand hard, objective evidence for your assumptions. Whenever you catch yourself mind reading, pause and ask yourself, do I have concrete, verifiable, objective proof that this person is thinking this exact negative thought about me? Or am I projecting my own internal insecurities onto them? 99% of the time, you will realize that you are reacting to a phantom generated by your own mind. Drop the illusion of the spotlight. Accept the beautiful, liberating reality of your own social insignificance in the minds of others. Recognize that people are far too consumed by their own internal dramas to judge you, and that when they do judge, they are merely broadcasting their own internal wounds. Step off the artificial stage you have constructed in your mind. Stop playing a role to satisfy an imaginary audience, and start using your finite, precious energy to build a life that feels good on the inside, rather than one that merely looks good on the outside. Chapter 3. The third vector in dismantling the prison of external validation requires a radical, uncompromising deconstruction of approval seeking in your daily relationships, personal communications, and social interactions. For most people, caring about what others think is not an abstract, high-level philosophical issue. It is a concrete, moment-by-moment drain that manifests in everyday social habits. It is present in the way you structure your sentences, the tone of voice you use when answering a phone call, your inability to say a simple no without providing a tragic backstory, and your continuous, desperate compulsion to over-explain your life choices to anyone who asks. To reclaim your sovereignty, you must first shine a cold, objective light on the habit of over-explaining. Over-explaining is one of the most common, low-level behavioral symptoms of deep-seated approval addiction. When you are asked why you cannot attend a social event, why you are quitting a job, why you chose a certain lifestyle, or why you made a specific financial decision, your conditioned instinct is to launch into a long, dramatic, defensive narrative. You offer detailed justifications, List all the reasons beyond your control, detail your personal struggles, and beg the other person to understand, validate, and forgive your decision. Why do you do this? You over-explain because, at a deep subconscious level, you do not believe you have the inherent right to make choices for your own life. You operate under the hidden assumption that your decisions are invalid unless you can produce a mountain of evidence that satisfies the court of public opinion. You over-explain to soften the blow of disappointment, to prevent the other person from feeling upset, and to secure their permission to live your life. You are effectively saying, "Please do not be angry with me. See how much I am struggling. See how valid my reasons are. Please grant me permission to do what I need to do." This over-explaining is a profound betrayal of your personal power. It signals weakness, signals internal guilt, and hands the other person a list of objections they can easily dismantle to pressure you into changing your mind. When you offer 5 excuses for why you cannot do something, a manipulative or dominant person will simply solve those 5 problems for you, leaving you trapped with no further excuses and forcing you to surrender your boundary. They recognize that your decision is built on fragile, defensive grounds rather than firm, sovereign self-possession. A sovereign individual delivers clean, clear, and unshakable decisions without preamble, apology, or defensive justification. They recognize that their time, energy, and life choices belong to them by right of existence, and that they owe no one an explanation for how they choose to govern their own life force. When asked to do something that does not align with their priorities, they do not fabricate an elaborate story or offer a dramatic excuse. They use simple, high-status, low-friction statements. "Thank you for thinking of me, but I am unable to make that work. That doesn't align with my current priorities." Or simply, "No, I won't be able to join." Notice the immense psychological power of a clean refusal. It contains 0 guilt, 0 apologies, 0 detailed excuses, and 0 openings for negotiation. It communicates that your word is final, that your boundaries are absolute, and that you do not require external permission to govern your own existence. When you first begin delivering clean, unexplained refusals, your conditioned guilt alarm will fire intensely. You will feel a sudden spike of anxiety and a strong urge to fill the silence with explanations. Sit through that discomfort. Observe the urge neutrally. Let the wave pass and allow the silence to stand. The silence is where your power resides. Another pervasive behavioral manifestation of approval addiction is the compulsive urge to keep the peace through people-pleasing and emotional labor. People-pleasing is often disguised as a noble virtue, framed as kindness, generosity, empathy, or selflessness. In reality, compulsive people-pleasing is rarely driven by genuine love or generosity. It is a covert, manipulative defense mechanism designed to control other people's perceptions of you and protect yourself from the discomfort of conflict or disapproval. You play the role of the nice, easygoing, infinitely flexible person so that people will like you, need you, and never criticize or abandon you. When you engage in compulsive people-pleasing, you treat everyone around you as an emotional infant who cannot handle the reality of your boundaries, opinions, or authentic desires. You suppress your true thoughts to avoid disagreement, pretend to enjoy activities you despise to fit in, and bend over backward to fix everyone else's problems while your own life falls into disrepair. You become a psychological rug, allowing others to step all over your time and energy, while quietly accumulating a massive toxic reservoir of unexpressed resentment and bitterness. The resentment you feel toward the people you please is not their fault, it is your fault. It is the natural internal poison produced by your own continuous self-abandonment. You are angry at them for taking advantage of you, but you are the one who continuously opened the door, invited them in, and handed them the keys to your life. You are sacrificing your health, sanity, and authentic potential on the altar of their immediate comfort, all to buy a temporary fix of social approval that evaporates the moment you step out of the room. To break free from people-pleasing, you must undergo a complete philosophical rewrite of your understanding of conflict, disappointment, and authenticity. You must accept that causing temporary disappointment in others is an absolute, unavoidable tax of living an authentic, powerful life. If you are living a life where no one is ever disappointed in you, disappointed by your boundaries, or upset by your choices, you are not living your own life. You are living a performative lie designed to keep everyone else comfortable while your soul slowly dies. You must grant the people in your life the respect and dignity of handling their own emotions. When you set a firm boundary or say no to a request, and the other person becomes upset, disappointed, or angry, that emotional reaction belongs entirely to them. It is a reflection of their expectations, their conditioning, and their inability to accept your sovereignty. It is not your responsibility to fix their mood, soothe their disappointment, or sacrifice your truth to restore their comfort. Let them be disappointed. Let them feel their feelings. Sit grounded in your truth. Hold your space with calm kindness, and allow them to process their own internal reality without stepping in to save them. Furthermore, you must eliminate the toxic habit of soliciting validation before making basic decisions. Insecure, approval-addicted individuals cannot buy a piece of clothing, pick a vacation destination, choose a career direction, or end an unhappy relationship without first polling their entire social circle. They call 5 friends, consult their parents, post on social media, and ask everyone, "What do you think I should do? Is this a good idea? Am I doing the right thing?" They gather a consensus of opinions before trusting their own internal compass, effectively outsourcing their intuition and decision-making authority to the crowd. When you constantly seek external validation before taking action, you dilute your personal power and guarantee that your life will never exceed the average, comfortable baseline of the people you consult. The crowd will always advise you to take the safe path, avoid risk, conform to social norms, and stay within the comfortable confines of the status quo. They will project their own fears, limitations, and conditioning onto your path, convincing you to abandon your bold visions and settle for a lukewarm existence. A sovereign individual trusts their own internal authority. They gather objective data when necessary, but the ultimate decision-making power rests firmly inside their own chest. They do not need 5 people to agree with their life choices to validate their direction. They make decisions from an internal baseline of self-trust, take full responsibility for the outcomes, and adjust course based on real-world results rather than public opinion. Stop polling the crowd for permission to live your life. Strengthen your internal compass, trust your own intuition, and step forward into your truth with bold, unshakable confidence. Chapter 4. The 4th vector in liberating yourself from the opinions of others requires a ruthless, systematic deconstruction of the status game, lifestyle inflation, and the modern consumerist trap of performative living. We live in a culture that is structurally engineered to keep you in a perpetual state of inadequacy, financial fragility, and social comparison. Everywhere you look, from targeted digital advertisements and curated social media feeds to billboards and television shows, you are bombarded with a single continuous message: you are not enough as you are. Your worth is incomplete. To be respected, admired, and loved, you must buy this product, drive this vehicle, wear this brand, live in this neighborhood, and project an image of effortless luxury and success. This relentless cultural indoctrination drives millions of intelligent adults into an exhausting, endless hamster wheel known as status competition. Status competition is the practice of spending finite financial resources, physical energy, and precious time to acquire material objects, titles, and lifestyle markers, not for their utility, comfort, or genuine personal enjoyment, but strictly to send a visual signal of high social rank to others. It is the act of buying things you don't need, with money you don't have, to impress people you don't even like. Consider the immense financial and psychological devastation caused by this performative game. People take on decades of soul-crushing debt to purchase homes far larger than their actual physical needs require, simply because living in a smaller home would be perceived as a step down by their peers. They finance luxury vehicles with exorbitant monthly payments to project an illusion of wealth, while secretly stressing over basic monthly expenses. They buy designer apparel, expensive watches, and high-end gadgets, not because those items function significantly better than standard alternatives, but because those items carry an embroidered logo, that acts as an explicit status signal to the crowd. When you engage in performative consumption, you are building a gilded cage for yourself. To maintain the high-cost lifestyle required to signal success to your social circle, you are forced to remain chained to high-stress, energy-draining careers, toxic work environments, or unfulfilling business arrangements. You lose your leverage, your freedom of choice, and your ability to walk away from bad situations because your overhead is too high to allow for a drop in income. You sell your priceless daily peace, physical health, time with loved ones, and creative freedom for the fleeting, hollow thrill of having acquaintances look at your lifestyle and think, they are doing well. This is a profound trade-off error. You are trading real, tangible assets, your time, health, autonomy, and inner peace, for an intangible, worthless currency, the temporary, superficial approval of people who do not care about your ultimate well-being. The luxury car you drive does not make you a better human being. The neighborhood you live in does not cure your internal anxiety. The designer clothing you wear does not fix your deep-seated insecurities. Material status symbols are merely cosmetic band-aids applied over a gaping wound of internal inadequacy. To break free from this consumerist trap, you must cultivate the philosophy of financial and lifestyle sovereignty. Sovereignty begins the moment you detach your self-worth from your net worth, your job title, your zip code, and your physical possessions. You must realize that true wealth is not the accumulation of expensive status-signaling objects. True wealth is the absolute ownership of your own time, unshakable mental peace, physical health, and the freedom to choose how you spend your waking hours. A person who lives in a modest home, drives an older, reliable car, has zero debt, and owns 24 hours of their day to spend on deep work, family, and personal growth, is infinitely richer than a corporate executive making millions who is chained to a desk 80 hours a week, popping sleeping pills, and living in a constant state of hyper-stress to maintain a luxury estate. Stepping out of the status game requires you to step off the hedonic treadmill and adopt the mindset of radical utility. The hedonic treadmill is the psychological tendency for humans to quickly adapt to a new, higher standard of living, causing the initial spike of happiness to fade back to baseline and driving the desire for even more consumption. When you buy a luxury item, the initial thrill lasts for a few days or weeks. Soon, the new standard becomes the norm, the excitement vanishes, and you feel compelled to buy the next upgrade to experience another temporary high. When you view material possessions through the lens of radical utility, you ask a simple, sovereign question before every purchase. Does this item serve a genuine, practical function that enhances my daily health, efficiency, or deep joy? Or am I buying it to signal something to other people? If the honest answer is that you are buying it to impress others, avoid looking cheap, or fit into a high-status group, you cancel the transaction immediately. You refuse to waste your hard-earned life force funding a performative illusion for the crowd. Furthermore, you must actively insulate your mind from the curated illusion of social media comparison. Social media platforms are hyper-engineered approval engines designed to exploit your primitive desire for social rank. They offer a digital stage where billions of people broadcast the top 1% of their lives, their most flattering photos, their luxury vacations, their career highlights, and their harmonious moments, while completely hiding the underlying reality of their daily struggles, financial debt, relationship dysfunction, and internal anxiety. When you scroll through these curated highlights while experiencing the raw, unedited, messy reality of your own daily life, your brain automatically engages in unfair social comparison. You look at someone else's highlight reel and feel a sudden surge of inadequacy, envy, and shame about your own progress, appearance, or lifestyle. You forget that you are comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to their heavily edited movie trailer. You feel compelled to post your own curated highlights, seeking likes and comments to validate your existence, dropping deeper into the performative trap. To protect your sovereignty, you must declare digital independence. Treat social media as a tool for intentional creation, learning, and connection, rather than a gauge for your self-worth. Audit your digital environment ruthlessly. Unfollow, mute, or block accounts that trigger feelings of inadequacy, status anxiety, or performative comparison. Recognize that a high number of digital followers or online likes carries zero weight in the real world. A life built around real-world peace, deep physical relationships, authentic work, and private fulfillment will always be vastly superior to a life built around digital applause. Embrace the quiet power of living a low-status, high-value existence. Stop trying to prove your success to the world. Let people think you are unambitious because you drive a simple car. Let them assume you are failing because you don't talk about your achievements. Let them judge your simple, unpretentious lifestyle. While they burn through their lives working themselves into early graves to maintain a performative illusion for strangers, you will be sitting quietly in your sovereign freedom, owning your time, enjoying deep peace, and living a life that is genuinely rich on the inside. Chapter 5. The fifth vector in emancipating yourself from the psychological tyranny of external opinions requires a total, radical restructuring of your relationship with family expectations, ancestral conditioning, and familial guilt. For an overwhelming majority of human beings, the primary source of approval addiction does not originate from strangers on the internet, distant acquaintances, or corporate colleagues. It originates from the very people who brought them into the world, raised them, and claimed to love them most, their parents, siblings, and extended family network. Familial conditioning is the deepest, most resilient anchor holding you back from authentic living because it was installed during your earliest, most vulnerable developmental years, long before you possessed the critical cognitive tools required to analyze, question, or reject it. To understand why family expectations exert such a crippling hold over your adult choices, you must deconstruct the psychological dynamics of intergenerational projection and emotional enmeshment. From the moment you are born, your parents inevitably project their own unfulfilled dreams, unresolved traumas, deep-seated anxieties, and rigid cultural worldviews onto your developing psyche. In many families, children are not viewed as sovereign, independent human beings with their own unique temperaments, values, and destinies. Instead, they are viewed subconsciously as extensions of the parents' own egos, a second chance for the parents to achieve the social status, financial security, career prestige, or lifestyle validation they themselves failed to attain. When a parent says, "I only want what is best for you," what they frequently mean, at a subconscious level is, "I want you to make choices that make me feel safe, comfortable, proud, and respected in front of my peers." If your authentic life path, whether it involves choosing an unconventional career, pursuing an artistic passion, refusing to marry, adopting non-traditional beliefs, or stepping away from religious or cultural dogma, contradicts the script your family wrote for you, a severe systemic conflict erupts. The family system experiences your authenticity not as a neutral expression of individual sovereignty, but as a direct threat, a betrayal of the clan, or an explicit rejection of their values. To enforce compliance and force you back into the tribal mold, family systems deploy a weaponized arsenal of emotional manipulation tactics: guilt, shame, silent treatments, dramatic weeping, accusations of selfishness, financial pressure, and threats of emotional or literal disownment. You are told that you are breaking your mother's heart, disappointing your hard-working father, or bringing shame upon the family name, simply because you are choosing to live a life that aligns with your own internal truth, rather than their outdated, external template. When subjected to this intense familial pressure, your primitive brain's childhood attachment system is instantly activated. As a child, losing the approval and love of your primary caregivers meant literal death. Thus, your nervous system was hardwired to view parental disappointment as an existential threat. When your adult choices cause your parents to express anger, sorrow, or disapproval, you experience a visceral surge of childhood panic and guilt. You feel a compelling, almost irresistible urge to surrender your boundaries, abandon your dreams, and conform to their wishes just to stop the emotional bleeding and restore the illusion of harmony within the family system. You must realize that living your life to satisfy your parents' expectations is an absolute, non-negotiable dead end. It is a mathematical certainty that if you live for your parents, you will die inside. Your parents belong to a completely different generation, shaped by a different historical era, different economic conditions, different fears, and different cultural paradigms. They cannot see through your eyes, feel through your heart, or walk in your shoes. Expecting them to understand, validate, or approve of a path they never had the courage or vision to walk themselves is an exercise in total futility. To achieve family sovereignty, you must make a profound psychological shift. You must transition from a compliant child to a self-governing adult through the process of psychological differentiation. Differentiation is the capacity to develop a strong, distinct sense of personal identity, personal values, and independent direction, while remaining emotionally connected to your family, or, if necessary, maintaining firm distance if the family system is deeply toxic. A differentiated adult does not need their parents to agree with their choices, validate their career, or understand their lifestyle to move forward with complete confidence. Differentiation requires you to dismantle the toxic, pervasive myth that setting boundaries with your family is an act of selfishness, disrespect, or hatred. There is a monumental, non-negotiable difference between genuine selfishness and sovereign self-preservation. Selfishness is demanding that other people sacrifice their lives, choices, and happiness to satisfy your desires, which is precisely what parents do when they demand that their adult children sacrifice their authentic potential to keep the parents comfortable. Self-preservation, by contrast, is simply taking responsibility for your own life, honoring your own health, and governing your own choices without infringing upon the rights of others. When your family accuses you of being selfish for pursuing your own path, you must recognize that they are engaging in classic psychological projection. They are calling you selfish because you refuse to allow them to be selfish with your life. You are not responsible for carrying your parents' unlived dreams, healing their unaddressed traumas, or soothing their existential anxieties. Their disappointment is not caused by your choices. It is caused by their own rigid attachment to an unrealistic fantasy of who they wanted you to be. Grant them the respect and freedom to manage their own disappointment, while you step firmly onto the terrain of your own life. Mastering family interactions as a sovereign adult requires you to abandon the useless, energy-draining habit of arguing, defending, or trying to convince your family to understand your choices. Insecure, undifferentiated adults waste years engaged in circular, exhausting debates with their parents, trying to explain why their career choice is valid, why their relationship style works, or why their personal beliefs make sense. They are still desperately begging for parental permission and understanding. They want to make the choice and have the parents clap for it. You must accept that you do not need their applause, and you do not need their understanding. Understanding is not a prerequisite for respect, and permission is something you give to yourself. When interacting with critical or boundary-crossing family members, drop all defensiveness and adopt the technique of low-emotion validation, combined with absolute boundaries. When a family member criticizes your life choices, offers unsolicited advice, or attempts to make you feel guilty, do not raise your voice, engage in long explanations, or launch an emotional defense. Respond with calm, neutral, low-energy statements that acknowledge their words without validating their authority over your life. I hear your perspective. I know you see it that way. Or, I understand you have strong feelings about this, but I have made my decision. If they persist in attacking your choices, raising their voice, or deploying emotional guilt, enforce an immediate, non-negotiable consequence. I love you, but I will not participate in a conversation where my personal choices are degraded. If we cannot change the subject, I am going to end this call, and we can try again next week. Notice that you are not asking them to stop. You are stating what you will do if they continue. If they cross the line again, execute the consequence instantly. Hang up the phone, walk out of the room, or leave the gathering without emotional drama or back-and-forth arguments. When you consistently enforce clean consequences without throwing emotional tantrums, your family system receives a clear, unshakable message. You are no longer a child who can be manipulated, guilted, or controlled. You are a sovereign, independent adult, and access to your presence, energy, and life is a privilege that requires mutual respect and firm boundaries. Chapter 6. The sixth vector in ending your addiction to external validation demands a thorough, uncompromising audit of your social circle, personal friendships, and the subtle, energy-sucking phenomenon known as peer conformity pressure. Human beings are inherently social creatures, biologically designed to absorb the habits, attitudes, emotional baselines, and behavioral norms of the people with whom they interact most frequently. Sociological research consistently demonstrates that your income, fitness levels, mental health, career ambitions, and overall life satisfaction are heavily influenced by the average baselines of your closest social network. You are, quite literally, an energetic and psychological composite of your primary circle. Despite this profound truth, the vast majority of adults maintain friendships based entirely on passive historical inertia rather than active, conscious alignment. They remain tethered to childhood friends, former college roommates, or longtime acquaintances simply because they share a long history together, even though those individuals have evolved into bitter, stagnant, critical, or deeply boundaryless human beings. They stay trapped in toxic or unfulfilling friendships out of misplaced loyalty, fear of loneliness, or a desperate desire to avoid the social disapproval that comes with walking away from a long-standing relationship. To reclaim your personal sovereignty, you must recognize that remaining in friendships where you are continuously judged, criticized, held back, or forced to play small is a severe form of self-sabotage. Many so-called friendship circles do not exist to support mutual growth, deep authenticity, or high-level achievement. They exist as subtle conformity cartels, unspoken social agreements where everyone agrees to stay at a comfortable, mediocre baseline so that no one in the group has to feel insecure, challenged, or left behind. In a conformity cartel, the unspoken rule is simple. You are loved, accepted, and supported only as long as you stay within the pre-approved boundaries of the group's collective reality. The moment you decide to break out, to lose weight, launch a business, quit drinking, adopt a rigorous discipline, pursue higher ambitions, or speak your radical truth, the energy of the group shifts dramatically. Your growth acts as a harsh, unwelcome mirror reflecting their stagnation. Your willingness to change exposes their laziness. Your courage highlights their fear. Because the group cannot tolerate the internal discomfort caused by your evolution, they launch a subtle, passive-aggressive campaign to pull you back down into the bucket of mediocrity. They mock your new habits, make condescending comments about your phase, question your motives, isolate you from conversations, or accuse you of changing, acting superior, or forgetting where you came from. They deploy the dangerous weapon of social shame to force you back into line, subtly threatening you with exclusion if you do not abandon your new standards and return to the comfortable baseline of the tribe. If you are an individual who cares deeply about what others think, this subtle peer pressure is absolute poison. You feel caught in an agonizing conflict between your authentic desire to grow and your primitive fear of losing your friends. To resolve the tension, millions of people choose to murder their own potential. They tone down their enthusiasm, abandon their ambitious goals, hide their achievements, engage in destructive habits they privately hate, and pretend to be less capable than they are, all to keep their friends comfortable and preserve their standing in a mediocre social circle. You must cultivate the courage to perform a cold, objective audit of your social ecosystem. You must stop evaluating your friendships based on historical duration and start evaluating them based on alignment, reciprocity, and energetic return. Ask yourself the following sovereign questions regarding every primary person in your life. Does this person genuinely celebrate my growth, success, and authentic expression? Or do I sense underlying jealousy, passive-aggressive criticism, or subtle resentment when I thrive? Can I be completely, unreservedly authentic around this person, speaking my true thoughts, sharing my real dreams, and displaying my flaws, without fear of judgment, mockery, or gossip? After spending 2 hours with this person, do I feel energized, inspired, grounded, and clear? Or do I feel drained, anxious, cynical, and emotionally depleted? Am I keeping this friendship alive out of genuine mutual love, shared values, and deep respect? Or am I holding on to it out of fear, guilt, nostalgia, and habit? If your honest answers reveal that a friendship is built on one-sided emotional drain, conditional acceptance, passive-aggressive judgment, or continuous conformity pressure, you must recognize that this person is not a true friend. They are a parasitic variable on your energetic balance sheet, actively siphoning off the courage, clarity, and focus required to build a magnificent life. Walking away from misaligned friendships does not require a dramatic, high-energy confrontation, a screaming argument, or a long, dramatic text message listing all their flaws. High-energy confrontation simply drags you back into their emotional drama and feeds their narrative that you are hostile or unreasonable. A sovereign individual executes a quiet, smooth, and unshakable practice known as the relational fade. The relational fade is the conscious, gradual reduction of your availability, emotional investment, and physical proximity to low-value or critical individuals. You stop initiating contact, stop offering deep personal information about your life, and stop making yourself available for spontaneous hangs or long venting sessions. When they reach out, you respond politely, cleanly, and briefly, but decline invitations with simple, unexplained refusals. My schedule is completely booked right now, but I wish you the absolute best. You do not attack them, judge them, or demand that they change. You simply withdraw your life force and allow the relationship to quietly dissolve into the background. Simultaneously, you must cultivate the courage to endure the inevitable temporary period of social solitude that occurs when you drop low-quality connections. When you stop hanging out with people who drain you, there is often a quiet, uncomfortable gap before high-value, authentic, and aligned people enter your orbit. Insecure people find this intermediate solitude terrifying. They panic, feel lonely, and run right back to their old toxic groups just to have warm bodies around them. You must view solitude not as a sad state of isolation, but as a sacred, powerful space of personal purification and high-level calibration. In the quiet space of solitude, you discover who you actually are when no one is watching, judging, or conditioning you. You strengthen your internal identity, clarify your values, and build an unshakable core of self-trust. When you stand firmly in your sovereign solitude, refusing to settle for low-quality connections, you radiate a powerful, grounded frequency that naturally attracts true, high-value peers, individuals who are secure, ambitious, authentic, and incapable of playing petty status games. Surrender the desperate need to fit into groups that require you to shrink, step into the power of aligned solitude, and allow your true tribe to find you. Chapter 7. The seventh vector in achieving total liberation from the judgment of others requires a direct, uncompromising dismantling of the workplace approval trap, professional imposter syndrome, and the destructive cycle of career overfunctioning. For the vast majority of working adults, the professional arena is where approval addiction manifests in its most expensive and debilitating form. Modern corporate structures, institutional hierarchies, and high-pressure work environments are hyper-engineered to exploit human insecurities, utilizing performance reviews, job titles, public praise, and subtle social standing to keep employees working in a continuous state of anxious compliance. To reclaim your sovereignty at work, you must first deconstruct the pervasive psychological phenomenon known as imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is the chronic, irrational fear that you are an intellectual fraud, that your achievements are merely the result of good luck or timing, and that at any moment, the people around you will discover your incompetence and expose you. When operating under the influence of imposter syndrome, you view every manager, colleague, and client as a judge in a courtroom where you are perpetually on trial. You interpret every piece of constructive feedback as an absolute indictment of your intelligence, every minor mistake as proof of your worthlessness, and every silent pause in a meeting as evidence that people are questioning your presence in the room. This constant fear of being found out drives you straight into the toxic trap of occupational overfunctioning. You attempt to cure your internal insecurity through continuous, exhausting hyper-performance. You are the first person to volunteer for underfunded projects, the one who answers non-emergency emails at 11 o'clock on a Friday night, the employee who absorbs the workload of incompetent team members, and the individual who refuses to take accrued vacation time out of a desperate need to be perceived as indispensable. You falsely believe that if you can just work hard enough, deliver enough perfection, and sacrifice enough of your physical health, you will finally earn the unshakable validation of your organization and permanently silence your internal critic. This is a dangerous structural delusion. Organizations are not human beings capable of feeling gratitude, empathy, or unconditional loyalty. They are cold, opportunistic economic systems designed to maximize output while minimizing operational costs. When an organization sees an employee who regularly overfunctions out of a desperate need for external approval, the system does not reward that employee with rest, protection, or long-term safety. Instead, the organization recalibrates its baseline expectations around that employee's overfunctioning state. Your extreme, unsustainable level of sacrifice becomes the new minimum requirement for your role. The reward for being the most reliable workhorse on the farm is simply heavier loads, longer hours, and sharper whips. You must undergo a complete cognitive rewrite regarding your relationship with your career. An employment contract is not a sacred emotional covenant, a family bond, or a measure of your human worth. It is a straightforward, cold business transaction. You are exchanging a specific quantity of your time, skill, and focused labor for an agreed-upon financial compensation. When you treat your employer as an emotional parent whose praise you must earn through burnout, you invite severe exploitation and guarantee your own psychological depletion. A sovereign professional maintains a clear-eyed view of their work. They deliver exceptional, high-value performance during designated working hours, but they fiercely protect their personal identity, health, and life force outside of those boundaries. To break the cycle of workplace approval seeking, you must master the art of strategic underperformance and ruthless prioritization. In every job, not all tasks are created equal. The Pareto principle applies directly to professional output. Roughly 20% of your daily tasks generate 80% of the actual value for the organization, while the remaining 80% consists of low-impact administrative noise, performative meetings, superficial communication, and bureaucratic red tape. Approval-addicted perfectionists burn through their finite cognitive battery, attempting to execute every single task with equal maximum intensity, leaving themselves utterly exhausted when high-leverage opportunities arise. Strategic underperformance means making a deliberate, conscious decision to invest minimal effort into low-impact, non-essential administrative tasks so that you can preserve your elite cognitive horsepower for high-impact objectives that actually move the needle for your career. It means delivering good enough work on minor procedural requirements, declining non-essential status update meetings that could easily be replaced by a bulleted email, and letting low-priority, low-value requests sit unanswered until your core deep work is complete. By refusing to waste your highest-level mental fuel on corporate performance art, you preserve your energy, raise the quality of your core output, and free yourself from the desperate need to please every minor player in the office. Furthermore, you must establish hard digital and psychological boundaries between your career and your private existence. The introduction of mobile communication apps, remote working arrangements, and constant connectivity has systematically destroyed the physical walls that historically separated the office from the home. If you allow work communication channels to sit active on your personal mobile devices without strict limits, your home ceases to be a sanctuary of rest. It becomes an open extension of the workplace. Every time your phone chimes with a work notification while you are sitting at dinner, relaxing with loved ones, or preparing for sleep, your nervous system experiences a micro spike of adrenaline, pulling you out of parasympathetic recovery and thrusting you right back into hypervigilance. Reclaiming your sovereign energy demands that you establish non-negotiable boundaries around your off-hours availability. You must disable work messaging applications on your personal devices or utilize strict system-level focus modes that automatically cut off all work notifications the second your official working day concludes. You must explicitly train your colleagues and superiors to understand your availability patterns. If you consistently answer emails at 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening, you actively teach your network that your personal time is fair game for intrusion. When you refrain from checking or responding to non-emergency work communications outside of agreed business hours, you establish a boundary that forces others to respect your time and plan their requests more effectively. Finally, you must learn to navigate workplace politics, organizational drama, and managerial dysfunction without absorbing the surrounding emotional noise. Every office environment contains its own ecosystem of gossip, political maneuvering, complaining circles, and managerial anxiety. Insecure employees spend vast amounts of emotional energy engaging in water cooler venting sessions, taking corporate politics personally, or worrying constantly about what leadership thinks of them. A sovereign professional operates within the corporate structure like a skilled diplomat in a foreign land, polite, effective, highly competent, yet completely unattached emotionally to the internal drama of the system. When colleagues gather to complain about leadership or spread anxiety regarding rumors of organizational change, you do not join the venting session, nor do you offer unsolicited advice. You maintain a warm, neutral composure, offer a low-energy validating phrase, and excuse yourself to return to your core work. You recognize that the organization exists outside of your personal identity, and that trying to single-handedly fix a toxic corporate culture is a guaranteed path to burnout. You focus entirely on controlling your output, protecting your peace, and maximizing your professional growth. By refusing to invest your emotional currency into workplace theater, you preserve your stamina, protect your mental health, and maintain the clarity required to thrive in your current role, or pivot smoothly to better opportunities when the time is right. Chapter 8. The eighth vector in achieving complete psychological independence is the systematic deconstruction of conditioned guilt, moral blackmail, and the paralyzing fear of causing disappointment in others. Guilt is arguably the single most powerful internal leash used by society, family systems, romantic partners, and cultural institutions to enforce behavioral compliance. Unlike physical force or external commands, guilt operates entirely from within your own mind. It is a self-inflicted psychological punishment that fires automatically whenever you step out of line, violate a social norm, enforce a boundary, or prioritize your own authentic needs over the expectations of the crowd. To dismantle conditioned guilt, you must first understand the fundamental structural difference between healthy organic remorse and unhealthy conditioned guilt. Healthy organic remorse is a natural, empathetic emotional response that arises when you have committed a genuine moral failure. When you have lied, cheated, stolen, physically or emotionally harmed someone, or violated a clear, ethical agreement you freely entered into. Remorse serves a constructive purpose. It prompts you to acknowledge your error, offer a genuine apology, make appropriate restitution, and correct your behavior moving forward to repair the social bond. Unhealthy conditioned guilt, by contrast, has absolutely nothing to do with moral wrongdoing or genuine harm. Conditioned guilt is a manufactured emotional reaction triggered when you violate an unspoken expectation, reject an unchosen obligation, or place your legitimate self-care above someone else's desire for comfort, convenience, or control. When you feel guilty for saying no to a social invitation you despise, guilty for taking a rest day instead of working extra hours, guilty for spending money on your own health, or guilty for leaving a relationship that no longer serves your growth, you have committed no moral crime. You have simply chosen sovereign self-preservation over external compliance. The guilt you experience in those moments is not the voice of your authentic conscience telling you that you are a bad person. It is merely the echo of childhood conditioning, social programming, and emotional blackmail firing inside your nervous system. You have been trained to mistake the discomfort of enforcing a boundary for the moral weight of doing something wrong. The people around you, whether consciously or unconsciously, exploit this emotional confusion. The moment you step back, say no, or choose your own path, they project disappointment, sadness, or anger, knowing that your conditioned guilt will instantly ignite, drive you into panic, and force you to surrender your boundary just to stop the internal ache. To free yourself from this psychological trap, you must cultivate the willingness to feel guilty without acting on it. This is one of the most critical, high-leverage mental shifts in the entire journey toward personal sovereignty. Insecure, approval-addicted individuals treat guilt as an absolute command, The moment guilt arises in their chest, they assume they must have done something wrong, and they immediately alter their behavior, apologize, or back down to make the feeling go away. They allow the uncomfortable sensation of guilt to act as a dictator that overrides their logic, boundaries, and long-term well-being. A sovereign individual treats guilt not as a command, but as a fascinating, low-level biological sensation, a phantom signal generated by outdated conditioning. When you set a firm boundary or make a choice that aligns with your truth, and a sudden wave of conditioned guilt washes over you, do not panic, do not apologize, and do not change your decision. Sit still, drop your awareness into your physical body, and observe the feeling neutrally. Notice the sensation in your chest, the tightness in your stomach, or the warmth in your throat. Recognize it for what it truly is. This is merely the old childhood programming firing because I chose my own truth over someone else's comfort. It is unpleasant, but it cannot harm me, and it does not mean I made a mistake. Allow the guilt to exist in your body without obeying it. Let it burn through its natural biological cycle, peak, and slowly subside, while you remain grounded in your sovereign choice. Every time you feel conditioned guilt, refuse to bow to it, and hold your boundary anyway, you actively rewire your nervous system. You teach your brain that setting boundaries and living authentically does not lead to physical destruction or social exile. Over time, the strength of the conditioned guilt loop degrades, until setting boundaries feels as natural, clean, and effortless as breathing. Simultaneously, you must dismantle the insidious habit of taking emotional ownership for the feelings, moods, and reactions of other adults. Millions of approval-addicted people live in a state of hypervigilance, constantly scanning the faces, vocal tones, and body language of everyone around them, feeling personally responsible whenever anyone in their environment is unhappy, frustrated, anxious, or disappointed. If a partner is in a bad mood, if a parent sounds disappointed over the phone, or if a colleague seems cold, the approval addict instantly assumes, I must have done something wrong. How can I fix this? What do I need to apologize for? This is an absolute boundary violation and a form of subtle grandiosity. You are not the central sun around which everyone else's emotional solar system revolves. Other adults are independent human beings with their own internal lives, personal struggles, biological stress cycles, financial worries, and psychological baggage. Their bad moods, disappointments, and emotional outbursts are almost always driven by their own internal processes, not by your actions. Even when their disappointment is triggered directly by your decision to set a boundary, that disappointment is still their emotional responsibility to process and manage, not yours to fix or smooth over. When you rush in to fix another adult's disappointment, apologize for making a sovereign choice, or alter your life to restore their good mood, you are treating them like an emotional child who lacks the capacity to handle reality. You are robbing them of the opportunity to develop their own emotional resilience, while simultaneously enslaving yourself to their changing moods. Grant the adults in your life the respect, dignity, and space to own, feel, and process their own emotional states. Adopt the fundamental law of emotional boundaries. I am responsible to others, to treat them with honesty, basic kindness, and respect. But I am not responsible for others, their moods, their happiness, their expectations, or their internal emotional reactions. When you live by this law, you draw a clear, unassailable line between your emotional territory and theirs. If someone chooses to be upset because you said no to a request, let them be upset. Wish them well internally, hold your space with calm composure, and continue living your life with unshakable peace and sovereign clarity. Chapter 9. The ninth vector in breaking your addiction to external validation demands an absolute, uncompromising audit of your digital consumption, online behavior, and the hyper-engineered approval traps built into modern technology. We live in a historical era characterized by the systematic commercialization of human insecurity. For the first time in human history, global technology conglomerates have designed digital environments explicitly built to exploit the primitive human desire for tribal belonging, social rank, and peer approval. The smartphones in our pockets, the social media platforms we scroll through, and the algorithmically driven content feeds we consume every day are not neutral tools. They are hyper-sophisticated psychological capture engines engineered to keep your nervous system hooked on the continuous pursuit of digital validation. To free your mind from this digital prison, you must first understand the neurobiological mechanics of the digital dopamine loop. Social media platforms do not operate on a predictable linear reward schedule. They utilize a psychological mechanism known as intermittent variable rewards, the exact same biological mechanism that makes slot machines in casinos so insanely addictive. When you publish a post, share an opinion, upload a photo, or send a message into the digital void, your brain enters a state of hypervigilant anticipation. You do not know if your action will be met with silence, hostile criticism, or a flood of digital approval in the form of likes, shares, comments, and follow accounts. When that notification ping fires, your brain experiences a sharp spike of dopamine, not because you received meaningful human connection, but because of the anticipation of a potential social reward. Each digital interaction functions as a micro-vote on your social worth, delivering a brief, artificial high when the crowd applauds, and triggering a spike of anxiety and social shame when the crowd ignores or condemns you. Over time, your nervous system becomes deeply conditioned to outsource its baseline emotional stability to these digital metrics. You find yourself compulsively checking your phone dozens of times an hour, grabbing your device the second you experience a moment of boredom, awkwardness, or internal quiet, desperately seeking the next digital hit of external validation to confirm that you still matter. This continuous digital exposure creates a severe state of psychological fragmentation and systemic attention residue. Every time you pause your real-world life to glance at a notification, check an impression count, or scroll through a feed, your attention is shattered into microscopic pieces. You are no longer fully present in your physical environment, no longer engaged in deep, meaningful work, and no longer capable of sitting quietly with your own thoughts. You live in a state of permanent, continuous partial attention, operating on the superficial surface of life, while your prefrontal cortex becomes chronically exhausted. You burn through immense reserves of mental fuel attempting to manage your digital persona, leaving yourself perpetually drained, foggy, and anxious. To reclaim your cognitive horsepower and personal sovereignty, you must declare digital independence and construct impenetrable boundaries around your virtual life. You must recognize that digital metrics, likes, shares, subscriber counts, and online comments, are completely fake currencies that carry zero intrinsic value in the physical world. 1 million digital likes cannot buy you true self-respect, unshakable mental peace, deep physical health, or genuine, high-trust human relationships. They are merely superficial blips of light on a glass screen, manipulated by opaque algorithms designed to keep you addicted, distracted, and consumerist. Building digital sovereignty begins with the execution of a ruthless digital environment cleanse. You must stop viewing social media platforms as places where you go to consume random, unfiltered information, and start treating them as highly controlled environments that require absolute curation. Audit every single account you follow across all platforms. Ask yourself a simple, uncompromising question. Does consuming content from this account elevate my baseline clarity, inspire authentic action, or teach me valuable skills? Or does it trigger feelings of status anxiety, physical inadequacy, envy, or performative comparison? If an account triggers inadequacy, envy, or status anxiety, regardless of whether that account belongs to a celebrity, an influencer, a corporate brand, a former classmate, or a personal acquaintance, you must unfollow, mute, or block that account immediately. You owe no one your daily attention or psychological peace. Surrender the guilt associated with unfollowing people you know in real life. If an acquaintance asks why you no longer engage with their digital posts, respond with a clean, high-status truth. I have significantly reduced my digital usage to focus on real-world priorities and deep health. Simultaneously, you must establish strict environmental containment protocols for your digital hardware. Treat your smartphone as a useful tool for specific, intentional tasks, such as navigation, direct communication, and targeted research, rather than an all-access portal through which the outside world can interrupt your mind at any second. Disable all non-essential push notifications on your devices. Your phone should not chime, buzz, or light up when someone likes a photo, retweets a statement, sends a non-urgent message, or publishes a new article. Reclaim manual control over when you choose to access information, rather than allowing algorithms to pull you by the nose throughout the day. Establish explicit, digital-free sanctuaries in your daily routine. The first hour after you wake up in the morning and the final hour before you go to sleep at night must be kept completely free from screens and digital input. When you check your phone the moment your eyes open, you immediately surrender your morning focus to external noise, setting your nervous system into a reactive, anxious baseline for the rest of the day. Utilize an old-fashioned alarm clock, keep your smartphone outside of your bedroom entirely, and use those sacred morning and evening windows to ground yourself in physical reality through movement, silence, reading, real-world connection, and sovereign reflection. Furthermore, you must conquer the toxic habit of performative life broadcasting. Approval-addicted individuals cannot experience a beautiful sunset, enjoy a delicious meal, attend a high-level event, or achieve a personal milestone without feeling a compulsive urge to pull out their phone, document the moment, and broadcast it to the internet for public validation. They do not live the experience for themselves. They live the experience as content producers curating a story for an imaginary audience. The actual, lived reality of the moment is sacrificed so that the cosmetic image of the moment can be applauded by strangers. A sovereign individual practices the elite art of private living and secret mastery. They recognize that the most profound, powerful, and transformative moments of human existence are meant to be experienced deeply in physical reality, not offered up as cheap fodder for algorithmically driven approval. They build businesses, achieve physical fitness, cultivate talents, travel the world, and build deep relationships without feeling the slightest need to announce their actions to the public stage. When you keep your life private, you eliminate the pressure to perform for an audience, protect your plans from external cynicism and sabotage, and cultivate a deep, quiet, self-contained confidence that needs no digital applause to know its own value. Chapter 10. The 10th vector in eliminating your dependence on external approval requires a total, radical restructuring of your relationship with failure, mistake-making, and public imperfection. For the vast majority of human beings who remain trapped in the approval addiction cycle, the terror of making a mistake, failing publicly, or being seen as incompetent is the absolute master constraint holding them back from authentic living. They operate under a severe cognitive bias known as perfectionism, a toxic defense mechanism that uses the pursuit of flawless execution as a shield to protect the ego from the terrifying possibility of external criticism, judgment, or ridicule. To break free from perfectionism, you must first dismantle the fundamental psychological myth that perfectionism is a noble quality, a high standard, or a sign of personal excellence. Perfectionism is not about high standards or true mastery. Perfectionism is a high-level form of fear-driven cowardice and approval addiction. It is the subconscious belief that if you can just look perfect, speak perfectly, perform perfectly, and live perfectly, you can successfully avoid all pain, dodge all criticism, and guarantee the absolute approval of the crowd. It is a defensive armor you wear to protect your fragile self-esteem from the messy, unpredictable reality of human learning. Consider the immense, destructive price you pay for wearing the heavy armor of perfectionism. Perfectionism paralyzes your initiative and leads directly to chronic procrastination. Because your ego demands that your output be flawless on the very first attempt, the pressure associated with starting a new project, writing a book, launching a business, learning a skill, or having an awkward conversation becomes intolerably high. To escape the terrifying prospect of producing something imperfect that might be judged by others, your brain naturally defaults to distraction, delay, and endless preparation. You spend months or years researching, planning, organizing, and tweaking details in private, convincing yourself that you are getting ready, when in reality, you are simply hiding from the possibility of public evaluation. Perfectionism also forces you to live a tiny, hyper-confined existence. When you are terrified of making mistakes or looking foolish in front of others, you naturally restrict your choices to safe, familiar activities where you already possess guaranteed competence. You refuse to try new sports, avoid taking on challenging projects at work, refrain from speaking up in meetings, avoid putting your creative work into the marketplace, and decline invitations to social environments where you might feel out of place. You build a comfortable, velvet-lined cage for yourself, sacrificing your vast, unexplored potential on the altar of temporary ego safety. You must undergo a complete philosophical rewrite regarding your understanding of failure. Failure is not an indictment of your human worth, a moral flaw, or a permanent label that defines who you are. Failure is simply an unavoidable, essential, and highly valuable biological and operational data point. The biological process of human learning, whether a child learning to walk, a musician mastering an instrument, or an entrepreneur building a company, is structurally impossible without repeated, continuous cycles of trial, error, feedback, and adjustment. Neurobiologically, your brain learns and builds new neural pathways through the precise mechanism of making mistakes. When you execute an action, make an error, and experience the friction of that mistake, your brain receives a clear signal that its current internal model is inaccurate. That friction triggers the release of neuromodulators like acetylcholine and dopamine, sharpening your attention and signaling your nervous system to adjust its neural wiring for the next attempt. Every mistake you make and consciously analyze literally physically rewires your brain, making you smarter, stronger, and more capable. When you avoid making mistakes out of fear of what others will think, you actively shut down your brain's natural learning machinery. You opt out of the very process required to achieve genuine mastery. The most successful, capable, and formidable human beings in any field are not those who made fewer mistakes than everyone else. They are those who made vastly more mistakes, processed the feedback faster, dropped their ego defense mechanisms, adjusted their strategy with cold objectivity, and kept moving forward while everyone else was standing on the sidelines, worrying about looking foolish. To reclaim your freedom, you must cultivate the philosophy of radical imperfection and the willingness to look foolish. You must actively give yourself permission to be a beginner, to produce low-quality first drafts, to make awkward mistakes, and to stumble publicly as you navigate new terrain. Accept that whenever you step out of your comfort zone to pursue a new path, your initial output will likely be flawed, messy, and imperfect. That is not a tragedy. That is the non-negotiable admission price required to enter the arena of real achievement. When you publish a flawed piece of work, make an awkward statement in a social setting, or experience a business setback, and people in the crowd point, laugh, or offer critical commentary, you must view their reaction through the lens of ultimate sovereign clarity. Recognize that the people standing in the audience criticizing your imperfect efforts are almost always individuals who lack the courage to step into the arena themselves. They sit safely in the stands, nursing their own deep insecurities, throwing rocks at those who are actively taking risks, fighting, bleeding, and growing. An elite, sovereign individual pays zero homage to the opinions of spectators sitting safely in the stands. They align themselves with the immortal wisdom of Theodore Roosevelt's man in the arena. The credit belongs entirely to the individual who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. Even if they fail while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. To permanently dismantle the fear of public imperfection, you must actively practice deliberate minor social discomfort. Deliberate social discomfort is the practice of intentionally putting yourself in low-stakes situations where you look slightly awkward, imperfect, or non-conforming, explicitly to desensitize your nervous system to the illusion of social judgment. It is a form of exposure therapy designed to teach your primitive brain that minor social disapproval will not cause your physical destruction. Execute simple, intentional discomfort exercises in your daily life. Ask for a small discount at a coffee shop without offering a detailed reason. Pause for 5 full seconds of silence before answering a question in a conversation. Wear an unedited, simple outfit to a high-status venue, or deliberately admit when you do not know a basic fact during a meeting, without apologizing or offering an excuse. As you perform these minor exercises, drop your awareness directly into your physical body. Notice that your heart rate may briefly elevate, but observe that the sky does not fall, your blood chemistry remains intact, and the world continues to turn completely unbothered. By intentionally courting minor social discomfort, you systematically strip the crowd of its power. You discover that you can survive social awkwardness, critical looks, and public mistakes without losing your internal core. You realize that your value as a human being is an absolute, unshakable constant that exists completely independent of your performance, your output, or the opinions of the spectators watching your journey. You drop the heavy, suffocating armor of perfectionism, step out onto the field of your life with bold, messy enthusiasm, and start living for yourself with total, uninhibited freedom. Chapter 11. The 11th vector in achieving permanent liberation from external validation requires a total, systematic deconstruction of biological hyperreactivity, bodily stress responses, and the somatic regulation of your internal nervous system. To stop caring what others think at a deep, permanent level, you must understand that approval addiction is not merely a cognitive or philosophical flaw. It is a deeply rooted physical and physiological event. You can read every self-help book ever written, repeat empowering affirmations in front of the mirror every morning, and logically convince yourself that the opinions of strangers do not matter. Yet, the moment a colleague looks at you with contempt, a family member criticizes your life choices, or a crowd falls silent after you speak, your physical body instantly betrays your logic. Your heart begins to race, your chest tightens, your face flushes with heat, your hands shake, and a visceral wave of dread washes over your abdomen. In that moment, your rational prefrontal cortex is completely hijacked by your primitive biological hardware. You do not think yourself into caring about their opinion. Your body feels threatened before your conscious mind can even process the event. To achieve true personal sovereignty, you must learn to regulate your physical biology in real time, converting your nervous system from a hyper-reactive biological liability into an unshakable fortress of somatic calm. To master somatic regulation, you must first demystify the physiological mechanics of the autonomic nervous system when subjected to perceived social threats. Your autonomic nervous system is divided into 2 primary operational branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic branch is your body's evolutionary accelerator. It is designed to mobilize immediate physical resources for emergency survival when a real, physical threat is detected. When your brain registers a signal of social disapproval, rejection, or judgment, your amygdala interprets that event through an evolutionary lens, assuming that social exile and physical death are imminent. Instantly, your sympathetic nervous system fires a biological alarm. It triggers the immediate secretion of stress hormones, adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, into your bloodstream. Blood flow is redirected away from your digestive system and your prefrontal cortex, surging into your major muscle groups to prepare you for fight or flight. Your breathing shifts from slow, deep diaphragmatic cycles into fast, shallow chest movements, while your heart rate accelerates to pump oxygenated blood throughout your frame. This sudden physiological cascade is the exact reason why you freeze up during awkward social encounters, stumble over your words during high-stakes presentations, or yield to manipulative pressure during arguments. Your higher-level cognitive machinery has been taken offline by a biological false alarm. This sympathetic mobilization consumes massive amounts of your finite metabolic fuel, leaving you physically exhausted, cognitively depleted, and emotionally raw after even minor social confrontations. To stop this continuous biological tax, you must master the art of deliberate, manual parasympathetic activation. The parasympathetic system is your biological brake. It slows your heart rate, lowers blood pressure, reduces stress hormone levels, restores blood flow to your prefrontal cortex, and returns your entire organism to a grounded state of baseline equilibrium. The primary, most immediate physical tool for forcing your nervous system out of fight-or-flight panic and into parasympathetic calm is the manual override of your respiratory system through diaphragmatic breath control. Breathing is the singular biological function that sits directly at the intersection of your conscious mind and your unconscious autonomic nervous system. When you experience social anxiety or the threat of judgment, your breathing automatically becomes shallow, rapid, and focused high in your chest. This shallow breathing sends a continuous loop of sensory feedback directly back to your brain's fear centers, confirming that you are in grave danger and keeping the sympathetic alarm firing. By taking manual control of your respiratory pattern in the exact moment a social trigger occurs, you interrupt this feedback loop and force your brain to stand down. When you sense social tension, criticism, or judgment heading your way, do not respond verbally immediately. Pause. Instantly drop your awareness into your lower abdomen and execute the physiological sigh or the extended exhale protocol. Inhale slowly and deeply through your nose for a count of 4 seconds, expanding your lower belly rather than rising your shoulders, and then exhale slowly through your mouth for an extended count of 6 to 8 seconds. The long, extended exhale is the critical biological trigger. As your diaphragm moves upward during an extended exhale, it physically compresses your heart, signaling your brain to activate the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve instantly secretes acetylcholine, a direct chemical tranquilizer that slows your heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and shuts down the secretion of cortisol. Within 30 to 60 seconds of execution, you physically force your nervous system out of sympathetic panic and bring your prefrontal cortex back online. You regain full access to your sharp intellect, your voice stabilizes, your posture drops into solid alignment, and the sudden urge to appease the critic completely dissolves. Beyond real-time respiratory intervention, you must master the somatic technique known as somatic grounding and body centering. When an individual feels threatened by the judgment of others, their attention instantly vacillates outward, hyper-focusing on the faces, body language, and vocal tones of their critics, while their internal body awareness completely collapses. They live entirely in their racing thoughts, disconnected from their physical body, feeling light, floaty, vulnerable, and easily pushed around by external energy. Somatic grounding is the intentional practice of pulling your awareness out of your racing, overthinking head and anchoring it firmly down into the heavy physical structure of your lower body. The moment you enter a challenging social environment, step onto a stage, or face a critical individual, perform an immediate internal body center scan. Feel the soles of your feet pressing firmly against the floor, sensing the gravity pulling you down into the earth. Release the tension in your jaw, shoulders, and belly, dropping your center of gravity deep into your pelvic floor. Expand your physical posture by taking up your natural space, broadening your chest, uncrossing your arms, and maintaining steady, low-energy eye contact. By anchoring your awareness firmly into your lower physical body, you establish a powerful somatic presence. You present a biological signal of high status, unshakable stability, and deep composure. In human social dynamics, nervous systems continuously read and mirror one another through the mechanism of mirror neurons. When you enter a room anchored in deep physical calm, your grounded nervous system actively regulates the nervous systems of those around you, causing them to unconsciously perceive you as a solid, formidable force that cannot be easily intimidated, guilted, or manipulated. Finally, you must cultivate the practice of somatic interoception and emotional disidentification. Interoception is the capacity to observe internal physical sensations, tightness in the chest, a knot in the stomach, or a sudden surge of heat, without assigning dramatic, apocalyptic narratives to those sensations. When an approval-addicted individual feels a wave of social anxiety, their brain instantly attaches a terrifying story to it. I am failing. Everyone hates me. I am embarrassing myself. I need to escape. They confuse the physical sensation of anxiety with an absolute truth about their reality. A sovereign individual treats physical sensations as simple, neutral energy moving through their biological framework. When criticism or judgment triggers a spike of physical tension, they do not fight the feeling, panic, or attempt to suppress it. They observe the sensation with cold, curious, objective mindfulness. There is a sudden tightness in my chest and a surge of heat in my face. This is simply adrenaline and cortisol moving through my bloodstream. It is an evolutionary biological reaction. It is uncomfortable, but it cannot harm my core self, and it will pass in 2 minutes if I do not feed it with toxic thoughts. By separating the objective physical sensation from the subjective mental story, you strip social threat of its power. You allow the wave of physical stress to enter your body, peak, and naturally dissipate, while you remain standing like a deep, unshakable mountain. You realize that you do not need to fight your body's stress response, nor do you need to obey it. You honor your physical vehicle, keep your nervous system grounded through conscious breath and somatic presence, and move forward into your authentic life with cool, sovereign composure. Chapter 12. The 12th vector in breaking free from the tyranny of external validation demands the total dismantling of historical identity debt, childhood roles, and the psychological weight of your past reputation. One of the most insidious, invisible forces keeping you trapped in approval-seeking behavior is your own desperate attachment to the image of who you used to be. Millions of intelligent, capable adults spend their lives performing an artificial script that was written for them decades ago by their families, early peer groups, childhood teachers, and old social networks. They remain prisoners, not to the opinions of strangers, but to the outdated expectations of people who knew them when they were young, weak, undeveloped, or conforming. To break free from this historical trap, you must first understand the psychological mechanism of identity inertia and the good child syndrome. When you were growing up within your original family or early social ecosystem, you naturally adopted a specific relational role to survive, secure love, maintain safety, and minimize household tension. You might have adopted the role of the good child, who never made trouble and always obeyed rules, the overachiever, who brought home straight A's to earn parental pride, the caregiver, who managed everyone else's emotional crises, the people pleaser, who kept the peace through endless flexibility, or the rebel, who absorbed the family's shadow energy. These early roles were functional coping strategies designed for a vulnerable child who lacked physical, financial, and emotional independence. The deep tragedy occurs when you carry these childhood roles into your adult life, treating an outdated survival strategy as your permanent identity. Even as a fully grown, financially independent adult, whenever you return to your hometown, attend a family gathering, or interact with old childhood friends, a powerful psychological gravity pulls you right back into your ancient role. Within minutes of entering your old environment, your vocal tone changes, your posture shrinks, your boundaries collapse, and you find yourself seeking the approval of parents, siblings, or old peers as if you were still 10 years old. You refrain from speaking about your new career, hide your altered political or spiritual beliefs, downplay your financial or personal success, and quietly accept condescending comments or boundary violations, simply to avoid disrupting the historical consensus of who you are supposed to be. You must recognize that your family and old social networks possess a strong, vested interest in keeping you trapped in your historical identity box. Human beings crave psychological predictability and internal consistency. When you evolve, change your standards, step into your sovereign power, or reject your ancient childhood role, you disrupt the established equilibrium of the social system. Your growth forces others to confront their own stagnation, challenges their rigid assumptions about you, and requires them to adjust how they interact with you. Because adapting to your new reality requires internal effort, honesty, and emotional growth on their part, their egos automatically resist your evolution. They attempt to force you back into your old, predictable box, using the subtle tools of nostalgic belittling and historical gaslighting. They remind you of your past mistakes, bring up embarrassing childhood stories in public, dismiss your new achievements as a phase, or say things like, "Don't get ahead of yourself. "You're trying to be someone you're not," or "Remember where you came from." They are not describing who you are today. They are desperately clinging to a ghost of who you used to be so that they don't have to adjust their own internal world. If you rely on their validation to confirm your evolution, you will wait forever. They will never grant you permission to outgrow the box they built for you. You must grant that permission to yourself. To achieve total identity sovereignty, you must undergo a complete, conscious process of burning your past identity and declaring independence from your former reputation. You must accept a fundamental, unassailable truth. You owe no one a permanent, unchanging version of yourself. Consistency to a past identity that no longer serves your growth is not loyalty, it is psychological suicide. You are a dynamic, evolving, living organism with the absolute, non-negotiable right to change your mind, alter your career, rewrite your values, adopt new habits, drop old relationships, and reinvent your lifestyle at any moment, without providing a defensive explanation to anyone. Executing this transformation requires you to dismantle the subconscious guilt associated with outgrowing people. Insecure, approval-addicted individuals view outgrowing old friends, family dynamics, or former social circles as a cold, disloyal, or arrogant act. They stay attached to environments that drain their soul, pretend to enjoy conversations that bore them, and suppress their expanding vision, all to avoid making others feel left behind. This is misdirected empathy. Outgrowing an environment is a completely natural, biological consequence of continuous personal evolution. When a tree outgrows its original pot, staying in that pot does not help the pot. It simply stifles, rots, and kills the tree's root system. You must grant yourself full permission to move into a larger pot. If the people in your past environment refuse to grow alongside you, respect their choice to remain where they are, but refuse to sacrifice your expansion to keep them company. Wish them peace, honor the historical role they played in your journey, and continue stepping forward into your expanding reality. Furthermore, you must master the art of rewriting your personal narrative from the inside out. Stop defining yourself by the stories, labels, and evaluations assigned to you by teachers, parents, former partners, or past failures. If your childhood family labeled you as the quiet one, the disorganized one, the emotional one, or the failure, recognize that those labels were simply superficial projections created by people who lacked the depth to see your true complexity. Take complete ownership of your internal self-concept. Sit down with a journal and execute an uncompromising identity cleanse. Write down every single label, narrative, and expectation that was placed upon you during your formative years. Examine each entry with cold, detached objectivity and ask, is this label an absolute, eternal truth about who I am today, or was it a projected script installed by someone else that I have been blindly repeating? For every outdated label, explicitly write its absolute cancellation and replace it with your sovereign, self-chosen truth. Old narrative: I am the quiet, submissive person who avoids conflict to keep people from getting angry. Sovereign truth: I am a grounded, articulate, formidable adult who communicates truth clearly and enforces absolute boundaries with composure. Old narrative: I am the family caretaker who must sacrifice my own needs to fix everyone else's problems. Sovereign truth: I am a sovereign individual who governs my own energy, allows other adults to take responsibility for their own lives, and invests my resources into my higher purpose. Once you have defined your sovereign identity, step out into the world and embody it without hesitation, apology, or compromise. When you interact with people from your past who attempt to treat you according to your old script, do not argue, explain, or try to convince them that you have changed. Simply embody your new baseline with calm, unshakable finality. If they push against your new boundaries or express confusion over your transformed presence, let them sit in their confusion. Your transformation does not require their understanding or approval to be real. You are the sole author of your current chapter, the master of your identity, and the sovereign builder of your future. Chapter 13, the 13th vector in achieving total freedom from social validation, requires an absolute, uncompromising deconstruction of performative morality, virtue signaling, and the hyper-politicized outrage culture of the modern information landscape. We live in a society where public moral judgment has been digitized, amplified, and converted into a daily weapon of social control. Online mobs, media algorithms, and tribal social factions actively exploit the primitive human fear of public shame to enforce rigid behavioral conformity and ideological purity. Millions of individuals spend their waking hours terrified of saying the wrong word, holding a non-mainstream opinion, or failing to publicly display allegiance to whichever moral or political trend is currently sweeping through the cultural zeitgeist. To protect your personal sovereignty in this environment, you must first understand the insidious psychological dynamics of performative morality and virtue signaling. Virtue signaling is the public display of specific moral values, ideological positions, or emotional outrage, not out of a deep, genuine commitment to ethical truth or real-world action, but strictly to advertise your high social standing and tribal loyalty to the crowd. It is a modern, high-tech manifestation of approval addiction. When individuals post artificial black squares, paste trendy hashtags in their bio, adopt manufactured corporate jargon, or join online attack mobs, they are rarely engaging in meaningful ethical behavior. They are simply buying social insurance against public judgment. By publicly displaying the correct slogans and attacking pre-approved targets, the insecure individual sends a clear message to the tribe. Look at me, I am safe, I am moral, I conform to the group consensus. Please do not turn your judgment against me. This performative alignment allows individuals to obscure their deep internal insecurities, bypass genuine self-reflection, and feel a fleeting sense of moral superiority without ever having to make real, tangible sacrifices in the physical world. Virtue signaling converts morality from a quiet, internal code of conduct into a cheap, loud, performative commodity designed for public applause. The devastating cost of participating in performative outrage culture is the total destruction of your independent cognitive bandwidth and internal peace. When you allow external political factions, digital mobs, or cultural trends to dictate what you must care about, what you must condemn, and what you must publicly endorse, you surrender your mind to collective hysteria. You allow your nervous system to be continuously hijacked by manufactured outrage cycles designed strictly to generate clicks, views, and advertising revenue for media platforms. You burn through immense reserves of mental fuel, arguing with anonymous strangers, feeling anxious over global events far outside your direct sphere of influence, and policing your own words to ensure you don't offend the fragile sensibilities of the crowd. A sovereign individual steps completely off the stage of performative outrage. They recognize that real virtue is quiet, private, and demonstrated exclusively through concrete physical actions, personal integrity, and real-world character, not through loud digital proclamations or tribal alignment. They refuse to allow digital mobs or cultural pressure to force them into public statements, forced apologies, or performative displays of solidarity. They understand that true morality does not require the applause of a crowd, and that a mob's condemnation carries zero weight against an individual who answers strictly to their own internal code of ethics. To cultivate true ideological independence, you must master the art of private conviction and intellectual solitude. You must grant yourself full permission to remain completely silent on issues where you lack deep expertise, to hold complex opinions that cannot be reduced to a trendy slogan, and to hold non-mainstream worldviews without needing to justify them to your social circle. When faced with social pressure to take a public stand or validate a trendy ideology, adopt the high-status stance of absolute indifference to tribal demands. I do not discuss my private convictions to satisfy public expectations, or simply, I am not participating in that conversation. Refuse to let the crowd think for you. Stop outsourcing your moral compass, political views, and life philosophy to media commentators, digital influencers, or peer groups. Do the slow, rigorous work of primary research, deep reading, and quiet contemplation. Form your own conclusions based on reality, logic, and your authentic values, and hold those convictions privately with unshakable stability. When you no longer need the crowd to validate your intellect or confirm your morality, you become completely uncancelable. The digital mob loses all power over your life because you never relied on their applause to know your worth in the first place. Chapter 14. The 14th vector in mastering personal energy and living strictly for yourself demands a total rewrite of your relationship with solitude, silence, and the fear of being alone. For the approval-addicted individual, absolute solitude is the ultimate psychological mirror, and therefore the most terrifying state of existence. When you step away from the crowd, turn off the digital devices, close the door, and sit in a room in complete silence with zero external input, all the artificial noise, performative masks, and external distractions strip away. In that profound silence, you are forced to confront whatever is waiting inside your own mind, your unhealed insecurities, your unaddressed regrets, your suppressed anxieties, and the quiet, uncomfortable truth of whether you actually like the person you have become. Because facing this internal reality is deeply uncomfortable, most people spend their entire lives fleeing from solitude. They fill every silent moment with continuous noise, background television, endless podcasts, loud music, digital scrolling, alcohol, busyness, and superficial social interactions. They choose to remain in toxic relationships, draining friendships, and suffocating social environments, simply because the pain of staying in a bad connection feels less terrifying than the quiet stillness of being alone with themselves. This chronic fear of solitude is the precise anchor that keeps you trapped in approval addiction. If you are terrified of being alone, you have zero leverage in the social world. You will tolerate disrespect from romantic partners, accept boundary violations from family members, stay in abusive workplaces, and suppress your authentic opinions around peers, because your primitive brain believes that setting a boundary will result in isolation, and isolation is a fate worse than death. Your inability to endure solitude converts you into an emotional hostage, forcing you to negotiate away your integrity, values, and freedom just to keep warm bodies around you. To achieve complete emotional emancipation, you must undergo a total shift in consciousness. You must transform solitude from a feared state of loneliness into a sacred sanctuary of aloneness. Loneliness is a state of lack. It is the painful feeling that something vital is missing, the desperate craving for external presence to fill an internal void. Aloneness, by contrast, is a state of absolute completeness. It is the profound, grounded realization that you are fully sufficient within your own consciousness, that your internal world is vast, rich, and whole, and that external companionship is a welcome addition to an already full life, rather than a desperate necessity for survival. True power, sovereignty, and unshakable self-worth are forged exclusively in the fires of deliberate solitude, when you cultivate the capacity to sit comfortably in absolute silence with yourself for hours or days at a time, without screens, without distractions, and without needing external validation. Your entire psychological framework changes. You discover who you actually are when the world is not looking, judging, or conditioning you. You discover your true creative ideas, your genuine passions, your authentic values, and the deep, unshakable peace that exists beneath the surface chatter of your mind. Building a sanctuary of solitude requires you to actively integrate practices of strategic isolation into your weekly life. Establish dedicated blocks of non-digital, silent time where you spend several hours alone in nature, sitting in a quiet room, journaling, or simply walking without headphones. Treat this time not as empty space to be filled with chores, but as a sacred appointment with your sovereign self. Observe the internal itch to reach for your phone, to seek distraction, or to text someone when discomfort arises. Resist that itch. Sit through the boredom, sit through the quiet anxiety, and allow the superficial layers of your ego to dissolve until you reach the bedrock of pure internal calm. Once you master solitude, your presence in the social world changes completely. You no longer enter relationships, business partnerships, or social gatherings from a position of needy hunger, begging for approval, or seeking a fix for your internal void. Instead, you enter from a baseline of absolute overflow and sovereign independence. You interact with people purely because you genuinely value their presence, not because you need them to save you from yourself. This internal completeness gives you absolute relational leverage. Because you are completely comfortable being alone, you possess the unshakable capacity to walk away from any relationship, job, agreement, or environment that requires you to compromise your integrity, disrespect your boundaries, or shrink your authentic presence. You can look any person, employer, or social group in the eye and know with absolute certainty, I love my own company far too much to stay here and tolerate disrespect. That simple, quiet willingness to walk away into your own sacred solitude is the ultimate, non-negotiable foundation of all human power, dignity, and real-world freedom. Chapter 15, the 15th vector in your emancipation, and the ultimate integration of this entire philosophy, is the realization of absolute personal sovereignty, self-authoring identity, and the construction of an unshakable, self-sustaining existence. Throughout this work, we have systematically dismantled the biological false alarms, evolutionary traps, social conditioning, domestic guilt, corporate overfunctioning, performative status games, and digital validation loops that keep you chained to the opinions of others. But destroying the prison of external approval is only the first phase. The ultimate objective is not merely to break out of the cage, but to build an enduring internal sanctuary and step into the role of the undisputed author of your own life. To live as a sovereign human being, you must understand the radical difference between an outer-directed existence and an inner-directed existence. The outer-directed individual spends their entire lifetime operating in a state of reactive compliance. They view themselves through the eyes of others, set their goals based on societal prestige, edit their words to avoid causing temporary discomfort, and measure their worth by the volume of applause, likes, titles, and tokens of approval they accumulate. They are biological sails, constantly tossed about by whichever way the cultural or interpersonal wind happens to blow. The inner-directed individual, by contrast, operates from an immovable internal core. They recognize that their life force, time, and attention are non-renewable, sacred currencies that belong to them by right of existence. They construct their own moral framework, define their own metrics of success, trust their own intuition, and make decisions based on deep internal alignment rather than public consensus. They do not look out into the world asking, "What do you want me to be so that you will love me?" They look deep within themselves and ask, "Who am I called to be, and what must I build to fulfill my true potential?" Achieving this level of self-mastery requires you to establish your own internal court of final appeal. Insecure people live as though they are perpetually on trial in a public courtroom, treating every stranger, parent, co-worker, and internet commenter as an authoritative judge on the bench. They hand over the gavel to the crowd, allowing random spectators to dictate their emotional sentence. A sovereign individual takes the gavel back. They dismiss the court of public opinion, declare the audience irrelevant, and appoint themselves as the sole, ultimate judge of their own character, progress, and life choices. When you sit on your own bench, an external critic's opinion is no longer a devastating verdict. It is merely noise from someone who lacks jurisdiction over your life. If your own internal court, governed by honesty, integrity, and self-respect, finds you innocent of moral failure and aligned with your core truth, then the condemnation of the entire world carries zero power to shake your peace. To maintain this unshakable internal alignment, you must institute the daily practice of radical self-loyalty. Self-loyalty is the absolute refusal to abandon, betray, or shrink yourself to make other people comfortable. It means that when faced with a choice between causing temporary disappointment in another person or causing deep, lasting disappointment within your own soul, you choose to honor yourself every single time. It means trusting your own preferences, backing your own choices, forgiving your own mistakes, and standing by your own side, even when the whole world disagrees with your direction. Radical self-loyalty does not mean becoming arrogant, cruel, or indifferent to the well-being of others. True sovereignty is never loud, aggressive, or defensive. Arrogance and hostility are merely defensive masks worn by insecure people who are still terrified of judgment and desperately trying to hide their fear. Genuine personal power is quiet, warm, grounded, and infinitely calm. The sovereign individual has nothing to prove, no argument to win, and no interest in forcing others to validate their choices. They allow others the total freedom to think whatever they want, while quietly, relentlessly executing their own path with unbothered precision. As you step into this final stage of freedom, expect the world around you to test your resolve. When you drop your performative masks, enforce clear boundaries, stop over-explaining, and walk away from approval games, some people in your old life will get uncomfortable. They may call you cold, selfish, arrogant, or changed. Let them speak. Their friction is simply proof that your transformation is real. You are no longer playing the role they assigned to you in their internal script, and their frustration is merely the sound of an outdated control mechanism breaking down against your sovereign boundaries. Do not look back. Do not apologize for your expansion. Do not offer a lower quality, shrunken version of your soul to keep toxic or stagnant environments happy. You have paid a massive, uncalculated price in stress, anxiety, and lost potential by caring about the opinions of people who were never going to build your life for you anyway. It is time to stop burning your life force to light up someone else's stage. Step into the sunlight of your authentic reality. Ground your feet on the earth. Take a deep diaphragmatic breath. Drop your shoulders and look at the vast horizon of your life with clear, unshakable vision. Your time is finite, your purpose is waiting, and the remote control to your nervous system is back where it belongs, firmly in your own hands. Step out of the spotlight, drop the applause addiction, destroy the chains of validation, and finally, with absolute freedom, joy, and quiet authority, start living strictly for yourself.